evening, everybody. My name is Sean Fralick. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight and staying so late for us, especially the kids that are still here. Can you hear me? My name is Sean Fralick, and I'm one of the owners of the property that you see on the screen right here. Our property is basically on the north side of Lake Picket Road, and then south of Seminole County border. It is on the west side of Chuliota Road, and then borders the Econocatchee Sand Hills Conservation Park. So when we came out here and we looked at purchasing this property, we realized that there was a lot of things that we needed to do that was more towards the stewardship of the land. And we saw a few things on the property that we really thought that needed to be explored a little further, that could be utilized really for the general region and not just the property itself. And so we also looked at there's solutions and there's problems out here. We wanted to generate a team of consultants that were local to the area, that lived in the area, that went to UCF, that had been kind of experiencing these things for a while. And so we picked that team to be able to solve some of these local solutions, or these local problems. We also needed to know that we had to do community outreach, and we've met with quite a few of you in this room, either on one-on-one or through small group meetings, and had many telephone conversations with you as well. We needed to preserve the character of the region. The rural character is very important to the community out here, and it's something that we need to look at. We know that there's traffic congestion. We needed to have a plan in place that was able to relieve the traffic congestion, not just what exists today, but after we leave. And we also wanted to create a place that was special, that can be enjoyed by not just the people living in the community, but the people in the whole region. So what we've done is we created a community called Sustany. So Sustany is what we're calling is an eco-literate community. This area, this picture you see right here is basically a new trailhead that leads into the 700-acre eco park that's adjacent to the community. And that's an outpost building that will be for educational purposes, for tours. We'll have mapping. There'll be community botanical gardens that will generate some educational aspects to it, and I'll get into that in a minute. So what is eco-literate? Eco-literate is a community that combines nature, wellness, and education. So the nature part of Sustany will include things like a viewing tower to view the natural resources that are in the 700-acre park, as well as plant life, animal life. Additionally, we're either canoeing or kayaking on the Econ River or on Lake Paxton. We'll have a community outpost, which is an education center that's out there as a new entry to the trailhead, which will have a learning center. We are staffing a community director in the community that will supply, having organizations of people from maybe UCF to come and speak to people in the community about the ecology of the region. Community garden of some sort, whether it's of natural habitat for gardens or botanical gardens. Nature trails for the children, whether it's a scavenger hunt to go out and seek different types of plant materials or animals in the region. And then educational signs that are intuitive throughout the park system that speaks towards the learning and the education of the region. Wellness. So wellness, we're saying that we're going to propose a trailhead for existing equestrian facilities in the region up in the area of the northern part of the property. There will be a public horse trail that can get access over to the 700-acre park. Kind of point, and basically it's up in the north part up here. Hiking trails throughout the community and in the park. We were providing 12-acre or 12 miles of trails throughout our community and another about 10 miles of trails within the park. We'll have dedicated biking trails. We don't have pedestrians and bikes and horses all kind of coming together. Fishing areas, and then just natural walking trails, and then dog parks in certain areas as well. The biggest thing that we like most about this process is there's a lot of communities that do more of an eco community, but we're looking at really educating the community about the environment. And so with that, our community director will have seminars on community gardening. We're donating a piece of property for a new fire station where they could do field trips for the fire station, as well as CPR classes being offered, botany type classes and ecology classes. healthy cooking classes at the community center and the education center, as well as we are providing a piece of property for a new middle school on the property. So this part of the site is what we're calling conceptual regulating plan, and I think Olin spoke a little bit about it when he was talking about the transect zone. So the T1 zone, which is mainly on the borders of the property, is the area where there will be no development. The T2 zone, which is more outside of or protected by the T1 zone, will be a development of around 1.8 units per acre. And then the T3 zone, which is on the inside of the property, will be development of about 2.7 units per acre. We also have a rural settlement zone, which is existing as it is today, which will stay rural settlement. We're not proposing to change that at all. That's currently rural settlement, which is a 1 unit per acre. We're not going to do any commercial. We have no apartments, and we have no townhomes. This will be all single family. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be building per what they call the Florida Green Building Coalition standards. And what that is it's increased wetland and upland conservation in the community. We have a low impact development with regards to the stormwater runoff. A lot of people talked about drainage. So we're going to be going by either the Econ stormwater management plan that's existing or the Green Building Coalition program, whichever one's more stringent. We're going to be providing education for the environmental services in the region through our education center and our Outpost Learning Center. All of our street lighting will be dark sky compliant, which means they don't shoot light up into the air that's onto the ground. Our landscaping will be of indigenous materials or trees and bushes that are natural and native to the region. And we're providing a 400-foot wildlife corridor on the northern part of the property, up in here, that is part of the area that we feel that is the most sensitive in regards to the wildlife that live up there, as well as Seminole County being to the north, and that property being a lower intensity. So that area was good for the wildlife, but also is the area that is where the river actually comes closest to the property up in this area to gain access for wildlife. So on the perimeter on the north, we have a 400-foot wildlife corridor. On the east, we've got the rural settlement of 1 unit per acre. And on the south is a 100-foot buffer along, and then the T2 zone on Lake Picket Road. So this is kind of a rendering that we did on Lake Picket Road on the south, which shows what we saw in the community was that there was some of the communities that are further down Lake Picket Road. I think they're called, there's Toll Brothers and some other that are down there, some newer communities. And what we noticed was that the look of the back of the houses was not a very attractive thing. And so what we're proposing is to provide a buffer as well as turn the houses around. So what we saw was what's on Lake Picket today existing is driveways coming off of Lake Picket and the fronts of the houses. We're not proposing any driveways on Lake Picket, but we'll have a private street in front, and then the houses will actually face Lake Picket Road, so you'll have the better side of the house. We're also planning to plant natural landscaping in the front, in areas that need to be filled in, and our proposal is to plant that now rather than later and let it grow in. We'll have 1 acre lots along Lake Picket Road, and it'll be natural landscaping. So the other part is we looked at traffic, and we all know that traffic out here is a nightmare during times of the day. So we had to do a few things. We had to listen to the community and understand kind of where their concerns were with traffic and certain things that are going on. We also had to get really up-to-date information. Our information that we've gotten is only about 30 days old. We've sent our traffic crews out there to take detailed counts at every intersection in the region and every road in the region, so that we have counts that are different than the county does because they're more up-to-date. We studied those counts to determine whether some of these roads are being backed up because of the road or because of the intersections. And then we looked at what was happened in the past and what other stuff is going to be going on in the future with or without us, and making sure that we were able to create a solution and a proposal to the county that to fix the roads, not just what exists today, but after we're gone, to make it better after we're gone. So what we found is that right now there's a rural road network in the region, the local roads. Unfortunately, there's urban levels of traffic traveling on those roads currently. So what we also found, which was interesting, is that 2/3 of the traffic on those local roads are local traffic, meaning that those are people that live in the region going to work and then coming back. They're not people coming from, there's a lot of people, but they're not all coming from Brevard County or other parts of the county. Most are coming from this region. We also learned that there's really a dire need for a new connection to the west that enables people to get into the urban part of the road system much faster. And they also found out that fixing SR50 was not the whole solution. After SR50 is fixed, there still is some things that are wrong, or not wrong, but broken in regards to capacity on the local road system. So we had to address existing and future traffic, we need to maintain the rural character, and we need to minimize the impact on residents and businesses. That's what we looked at when we went to try to figure out a proposal to resolve some of the traffic congestion. So this is what we did, is we deliver a road network that's community sensitive, that's environmentally responsible, we do not want to have another econ crossing, cost feasible, and it protects most of Lake Picket Road in its existing condition. So as Dwight had said earlier, there is a portion of SR50 that needs to be 6-lane. It's about 2.3 miles from Avalon Park to Chuliota Road, which is part of our plan. 419 will need to be 4-lane from Highway 50 up to Lake Picket Road. McCulloch needs to have some improvements, 4-laning along the section in front there because of the UCF just built that new stadium and that traffic has gotten much worse. But what we did notice is that really North Tanner did not need to be changed because the intersection at McCulloch and North Tanner is a problem, and there needs to be some intersection improvements there. There is about 1.5 miles of Lake Picket along the section between Percival and the border of our property. We propose a new road that aligns through the property, partly half of it about 4-lane, the other part 2 lanes. And then a new corridor that is a direct connection to the west. Now I know this is there's a lot of questions I'm sure revolving around this, and there's a lot of corridor studies that we need to do to look at this. But I can tell you right now that none of the studies that we're looking at will involve any impact to the school that's there on the corner.
Really?
So what we looked at was to try to relieve congestion. We wanted to preserve about a little less than 2 miles of Chuliota Road on the northern part, which is right now in the county's long-range plan. We're preserving over 6 miles of Lake Picket Road that's on the county's long-range plan to 4-lane. There's no new crossing of the econ. The construction is entirely funded by the private sector. And right now, it's the only solution that anybody's proposed to look at the traffic issues in the region. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Okay, folks, we're going to try to get this in a half hour. We're going to start on this side. We'll move back and forth like we did last time. If everybody can keep it down. If you do have to leave, just try to keep the sound down to the minimum. Go ahead, Mel.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Hester, and I live off the Lake Picket Road. We are rural. We have cows, chickens, we have pigs, either on the ground or in the freezer. And I just want to say that I've heard a lot of talk from y'all and from Mr. South and even from the county of trying to preserve the rural character of our area. And I guess my comment is that it's not a rural character that we want, it's actually a rural life. And none of these projects lend themselves to a rural life.
Yes, I can agree with that on the rural, what you're trying to do, but out here, it seems like to me that with this large acre of property that you have, instead of trying to sell huge houses think about more jobs. Put in an expensive dude ranch where people could come work in it. Put in a zip line like down at there's an ecosystem down near Ehaw Junction that is, kids come over and they work the ranch, they spend their weekends there, people come and camp there. You could put in park trailers and even have a travel campground there that would have jobs for this area for people that could be here. But also, this community out here, going south, if you had an accident between now, 50 and the Econ River right here, the only way you can go is north to get out of it, or you've got to go clear back 520 to get out of it south to the beach line, through Wakefield. Wakefield is still a very undeveloped area out there. And we also have County Road 13 is something that could be investigated to open to the beach line. The county has made poor choices letting this place get landlocked to the south with all these developments. So you either have to take out people's homes and disrupt their lives to get more roads anywhere, like taking out the Montessori to put that new road in that you're proposing.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, the proposed road that we're looking at, there's lots of corridor analysis to be done, but none of those will include impacting the school at all. We do not plan or propose to use any of the school property for the new road.
My name is Marcia Hovet. I am the owner of the Montessori School and the owner of the house next door that you just put your road right through. I've lived there for 44 years, and you put a big black-brown dot right through my home after telling us that you're not affecting the current community residents. And if you honestly believe that having a 4-lane highway next to where my students play is not affecting my school, you are mistaken. You go You are proposing a road through my house and my property to protect one block of Highway 50. What can you possibly be thinking?
Like I said, we're looking at different analysis, and I do not see any need to impact either your house or the school. There are multiple ways this road can go, and this is also up to the county on whether this is the direction that they want to move or not. But there's multiple different pathways. You're exactly right. There are different pathways that Lake Picket Road can go. We looked at the solution that really moves traffic efficiently to the west and relieve the congestion on the local roads. That's what we looked at. And we also looked at a lot of situations where we had a lot of people concerned about other parts of Lake Picket Road as well. So I understand your concern.
We're still right though.
The bear problem that's been going on in Longwood, what do y'all say to do about that here when someone walks out their front door and finds a coyote in their front yard?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. The bear?
The bear problems that they've been having along with it, now they're going to start shooting bears. What do y'all plan to do as a kid? Because your animals, or wildlife's not going to follow that thing y'all are doing. I'm serious. I had a panther in my yard, and I've had coyotes in my yard, I've had bobcats in my yard. What are these people that are buying $500,000 homes going to do when they walk out and there's one standing in front of them?
Well, I can't answer that. I don't know what the homeowners are going to do if they come out and find wildlife. I've got wildlife all over my yard, and we've got bobcats in the neighborhood, and we just typically leave them alone, and they leave us alone.
I got a couple of questions. One, what kind of a time frame you're looking at to develop the entire community or to build out?
The construction would not begin obviously until all of the processes would go through and the engineering would be done. But as the timing would be probably towards the end of next year. But we made a pledge not to one of the residents in here earlier, we made a pledge not to have one home be occupied until certain road improvements are completed.
Okay. So when you first start developing, so how long is it going to take to develop the entire community?
I don't know the answer to that. There was many communities that we've done in the past that we thought would take a lot quicker than they did, and then we had the Great Recession. So I can't really answer. I could be off by a long time if I try to put an answer to that right now.
And as far as the roadway improvements go, so how do they fit in with this schedule? Are you developing all those at the same time? The intersection over there, the 4-laning, are they happening at the same time as you're developing the land, or?
They would most likely happen at the same time as developing the land, and then we're working with the county to look at what roads are the most dire need to be fixed right now, and those are the roads that will be projected as part of the initial stages of development. I just don't know which roads those are. We've still got a lot of work to do with the county on traffic analysis.
I have 3 questions. 2 of them are really, one is, what is the total acreage of this? You didn't give us, I'm just curious.
Okay. The total acres of our property is 1,435 acres, and the park is 706 acres.
So it's 1435 plus 700.
The park is existing today, so our property is 1,435 acres.
Okay, that's what I need to put. And the total homes you're planning on building?
It will be less than 2,000.
I thought they were an acre each.
There are acre lots along Lake Picket Road, and there are 1-acre lots along the rural settlement area up on the east by 419.
Okay. And the other thing I want to make a comment, 2 comments actually, but it's that you've left all this area on the east, which I appreciate because I happen to border, and you've left acreage at the top for the animals. You really need to connect them because I can tell you that the deer and the bears and the bobcats come through there, at least leave them a pack to get away from you.
Right.
No, I'm serious. And the other thing is, I will tell you that it breaks my heart that we're going to have all this traffic. We'll see if these things work. We're all scared. I mean, critical. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Joe Collegian. I live on South Canal Road. You made a statement that all the traffic is in the area is local traffic. Now, what do you consider local traffic? From how far out?
Well, it wasn't all. It was about 2/3 of local traffic. And I'll have to get you the exact details on it, and if you'd like, I've got my traffic guy here, but I can ask him a specific question on those details, because I don't know the exact answer of how far the limits are.
Would you say people from Avalon is local traffic on Tanner Road?
I do not think so, man.
That's where most of our traffic comes from, there in Cocoa, in Titusville.
Cocoa traffic, typically from our models, was coming straight down Highway 50, and Avalon traffic was...
And turns on South Tanner Road to go to the college. Now, you also made a statement that you've done all these surveys. When you make a survey, why don't you do like they used to do? Have people out there and check. Where are you coming from? Where are you going to? Then you have a true survey. You go out there and have pencil punchers that are checking a little button saying there's a car, there's a car. That don't give true traffic results because you don't know where those people are coming from or where the heck they're going. Now, am I right or wrong?
Well, I can't say whether you're right or wrong, but we're using the methodology that is approved by the DOT and also the county in regards to determining different traffic levels on different roads. And that's the only approved methodology that we have the ability to use at this time.
Because the way they used to do it when they did projects around Orlando in Orange County, that's what they would do. They'd have pencil pushers out there, check out where are you coming from, where are you going, and how often you make the trip. But y'all ain't done none of that. You put a marker out there across the road, and that's your count.
Like I said, I have no way of determining where they're coming from and whether they're even telling the truth when you do ask them. And then stopping the traffic to ask them a question may not be the smartest thing to do.
That's just like the people that were going to do Rival's property for. They surveyed it and done counts on traffic. down South Tanner Road going south, there was never no traffic count. There was never no traffic. Do you believe that? I didn't. And I call him a liar.
Thank you. Yes.
You're talking about possibly 6-lane Lake Picket from Percival to South Tanner?
No, there'll be no 6-lane
No
cars.
6-lane, 4-lane. 4-lane, so you'll be crossing the Econ, you know.
Along that existing bridge.
Yeah, right. So, let me go back to McCullough. McCullough needs to come all the way across 419. I know it's Seminole County trying to block this, but somebody. Somebody from Orange County and Seminole County need to get together and get that road open from east to west, from University for.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about that, and yes, I understand, and that's something that was looked at in the past, and for one reason or another, it was not.
Well, I agree, but color's there, and it's been there, you see everything bigger, and they're bringing more students in, and I, 2 lanes from Color to Tanner, Dixie, said that's a lie. I mean, if you don't bring it here, now we're sitting in traffic on Dixie, and throw your line, and that's what's got to drop. And is it in there? Is that in the long-range plan? No.
We'll have our transportation planner address that. Looks like this microphone is out, so if you're in line over here, you may want to move over here. And folks, back here, there's a lot of chatter. I'm sorry, but you're blocking, the people who are standing are kind of blocking the view of the people behind you. So if you can either move to the side, and again, just out of courtesy to the speakers and the people who are trying to listen, you can keep the chatter down. We certainly appreciate it.
Aren't you just gonna make more traffic?
You know what, you're right, there will be more cars, but what we're looking at as our solution would be to make the roads better even after there's more cars. So, for example, if we add 2 cars to the road, and I know there are going to be more than that, we would make the roads big enough to support 3 cars. That's our plan.
I just have a general question for both builders, and I'm sorry I missed the first one, but is there any plan to provide restitution to the county? If you're going to ask them to change the zoning of the property we're talking about, you guys have had enormous tax breaks for how many years that you've had that property with the intent for it to sit the way it is, and now you're going to turn around and capitalize it and make upwards of millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, who knows? And the county has not seen that tax base now for all these years. They haven't improved the roads, they haven't improved the schools, all the things that you guys mentioned. But because that land was zoned the way that it was, and now you want to have sat on that tax-free investment for 10, 20, however many years, and you would have paid millions of dollars in taxes that could have fixed the very problems that you're saying that you're going to fix. And like you guys are coming in as heroes, and you were part of the problem. If we rezoned the property, the tax base would have paid for those things before you ever made a profit.
We purchased the property last November. The original family has owned it for a long time, I think well over 100 years. And they kept it agricultural during that time. So if this property goes forward and gets developed, obviously the tax base on the property will go way higher.
I just think it's dishonest to purchase a piece of property with the intent of capitalizing on the way that it was owned with only the intent to now monopolize profit off of that. I mean, that property sat there without generating tax revenue to the county for all those years, and now you guys came in and you're going to flip it around and make tens of millions of dollars, and the benefit you're going to provide is giving us a little traffic congestion relief that we wouldn't necessarily need if you weren't there, and that the county would eventually do because they have to address the issues. They just can't not do it. It may take a little longer, but you haven't addressed schools. What are you going to do if the first plan doesn't get approved and the elementary school doesn't go in? Now you have a middle school but no elementary school. What are you going to do about high school? One of the best questions I heard tonight is what's going to happen to my kids when we rezone everything because you guys decide you want to make a bunch of money off property that was owned for the specific reason that it's been sitting there for 50 years or whoever owned it before. You're going to come in here, make out like bandits, and leave the community in shambles for it.
I'd like to compliment you on your presentation. I think you really developed a beautiful idea. But I have 3 comments that explain why we're all here. One of which is I'm glad you left this slide up because it shows the 706-acre park, which is actually not all your property.
Correct.
It has the econ going through it, and it looks like you're developing it as part of your solution. Things like that, and the discussion of the reason traffic is on the public in some of the other areas is because UCF built the stadium, and that's absolutely not true. It's development that has created the traffic. The paving of the roads, the new subdivisions that are past UCF, the apartment buildings that have been added past UCF, the roads that allow traffic to come from 50 up through to the university is what's caused those problems. And last but not least, you unfortunately picked the wrong property to develop. There are obviously plenty of places within this county and other counties to build a property. But the city commissioners at some point decided this should be designated as it currently is. And there's no reason to change it. Just because someone...
I'll just speak real quick about the park. You're right, it's not part of our property. It used to be. The original owners conveyed that property to the Water Management District and the county a few years back, but it was originally always part of the plan, and per the agreement when they conveyed the property, there were stipulations in there that the new owner of the property adjacent to it would have the ability to improve the park, and that's what we're doing. We're looking at a piece of property that is very underutilized, and we thought that it would be a benefit to the region as well as our community to improve that park with certain amenities that are of educational basis and really kind of tie into the ecology of the region.
I do want to say this was a nicer presentation, but I would like to get to the fire station. You're donating the property, but it can cost up to $5-8 million to build a fire station, and then you're manning for that fire station. Who's going to get the bill on that? Who's going to pay for all the firefighters, the paramedics, the rescue trucks, the infrastructure that's involved in it? Where's that money coming from? And who's going to sustain those salaries for that fire station?
Right now, we're in very early conversations with the fire chief about his proposal and what he'd like to do. He came to us about a month ago and asked us if we could help him out with finding a place in the region for a fire station. We said that we would donate him a fire station for it, and he's going to continue meeting with us to determine how the cost and the timing of the construction of the fire station would actually get done.
This is a key part. And in order to pay for that districting of the fire services, how is that going to impact the taxes of the residents in that area to maintain it?
I'm not sure. I don't know if I can answer that because that seems like a county tax issue. No.
Seems like our tax issue. Thank you.
So this is going to start as a statement, but there is a question at the end. We learn history so that we don't make the same mistakes twice. I've researched Avalon Park and Horizon West, and in both cases, people argued the same arguments that we're making today in these developments here. And 10 to 15 years later, after they were approved, they're still trying to fix the traffic that was caused by those developments. Yeah. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Ted Edwards, are the commissioners going to let this happen again?
Ooh, good question.
That was a question.
That's right.
No?
Commissioner Edwards will address that later, or staff will address that later.
We'll be waiting.
My name is George Brown. I moved out in the area off of Lake Picket about 12 years ago. I moved out there for the area like most of these people because it's rural. You're up here talking about putting 4 lanes on Lake Picket. If you and the other developer aren't there, we don't need 4 lanes on Lake Picket. They're already widening 50. That should alleviate a lot of our problems. So that's just a statement.
We have looked at that, and we looked at what the impact of the current widening of 50 will do in the region, and what the impact of the additional widening of 50 that may be slated for 2020 or 2023 or whatever that date is. And based on the existing growth patterns of about 2 to 3% a year coming from multiple different counties, that those road systems continue to fail throughout time.
If you and the other developers aren't there, Lake Picket's fine the way it is. We like running down and looking at the fields.
Hello, I am a UCF master's student, and at the beginning of your presentation, you said that we had some of the best people to be our advisors on this to make it as sustainable as possible, including people who know the Sandhills area well. I've been doing biology work out there for the past 5 years. Nobody contacted me. Nobody contacted our classes. We have data on all the species, what's out there, prescribed burn issues. Why were we not contacted if you really have the best state in mind?
Our environmentalist, I think we touch base with you. Our environmentalist is here tonight, actually. And he's very knowledgeable in the region. He's also the chairman of the board of the St. John's Water Management District, which takes care of this whole region up here. So this area has been studied by him in detail, and we'd be glad to reach out to UCF to talk specifics.
Name's Faith Benning. I have also done a lot of work out in the Sandhills Eco area. I was actually one of her students. Regarding the 4-lane road expansion of Lake Picket, there are a lot of gopher tortoises. While you do have a large amount of corridor stuff in there, there's still no fence, no prevention, no actual corridors to go across the road. So you're going to have even more wildlife casualties than there already are. How are you going to fix that?
We'll go through the Florida Fish and Wildlife permit process, which requires us to relocate the gopher tortoises to a donor site.
Yeah, where's the current count? Because a lot of people with the new construction have been dumping them into the sandhills, which is going to cause an overpopulation problem.
I don't know where the closest or what donor site that we typically would use or go to, but it's something that we would study throughout the process when it's time to look at that. The idea is to minimize the impact to those types of animals as well.
Hello, my name's Michael and I'm nervous. I have 3 questions. The first question has to do with special taxing districts. When Jay Pritzker and his family bought the Baldwin Park property all those years ago, Mr. Edwards, we sold that, Orange County sold that to the Pritzkers for $4 million, and the property, which was the old Naval Training Center, was patently worth a lot more than that, multiple more than that. I'm sorry, Orange County or City of Orlando owned it. I thought it was $4 million, but regardless. And the Pritzker family made a fortune on that development. And as you've heard people say, there are major problems with controlling water and so forth over there. People have giant houses on itty little lots, huge population density. What is there to give us confidence that you're not going to change this plan after they change the zoning and increase the density? And we end up with a Baldwin Park over here.
Right, I understand that. Because in the past, there's been a lot of different things you guys have seen. There's been a proposal of a DRI for 5,000 units. There's been proposals from other developers or builders or home builders for 2,000 to 3,000 units. When we went in and looked at this, we realized from the beginning that this is not a piece of property that needs to be overdeveloped like that. Our overall gross density is about 1.3 units per acre. And so when we went in and looked at this, we did not even consider Baldwin Park or consider some of these Avalon Park communities in mind when planning it. And so we also structured, when we bought the property, to be able to do that based on what we paid for the property. So I don't have any other answer to the question of what will stop it from changing, but there is a regulatory process, there is zoning, there is land use, there is subdivision plan approval, engineering, that would all have to be started again. And that's not something that is very cheap, but it also takes a very long time. And so that's not something that would make sense for us. We're the owners of the property, we're not contract holders. This is our land, and it will stay our land until the future we decide to sell it.
Okay, question for you. This is not one of my questions, but it just came up. You originally said it was going to be on some of the property 1.8 units per acre and the other 2.7 units per acre. And you're saying 1.3 units per acre?
On a gross basis. So the county, I use county speak in that because the county uses numbers based on. Exactly. They use a number called net acres, and I'm using the numbers including all the conservation and the park area and everything. So on the net, it is an average of about 1.9.
Okay, the next question I have has to do with private sector funding. You said that all these improvements are going to be dealt with in private sector funding. So are you talking about, you're not talking about municipal bond issues or things like that. What, who, how, what kind of private sector funding are you talking about? Because, you know, in terms of Baldwin Park, they have a special taxing district, and those people can pay through the nose to live there because they have a fire station, they have their own elementary school, they have, it's like Reedy Creek out at Disney, they have their own tax set up, and they're protected, and those taxes do not trickle out into the other neighborhoods. Are you talking about setting up, sir, a special taxing district for either of these? No? Okay, so we will be bearing the brunt. I live in Wedgefield. And we don't use the public schools, we homeschool. My last child is going to be a senior this year.
So do I.
I don't know what I'm going to do with myself, but anyway. Okay, so we're not a burden in that regard. But these changes that are going to be made will funnel traffic, will force traffic through our neighborhood. If you've ever driven 50 at 7 a.m., you might as well just forget it. Because things back up. And I know we're talking about widening, but Orange County has this, I don't know, it's the state and the county. We have this ability to widen, and by the time we're done widening, it's now not enough. We don't look ahead. I know it's an issue of tax revenue and so forth, but I've lived here since 1982, and I've seen us widen I-4 twice, and now we're getting ready to widen it again. Okay, and I realize that's an interstate highway, but that's an issue with me, because these things sound great, but they all have to be paid for some way, and the community's all going to bear that. The last question, as far as private sector funding, are you talking about corporate bonds? What are you talking about?
Private sector funding is our back pocket.
Okay, so you're talking about going to a bank and getting a loan?
Most likely we wouldn't go to a bank, but
Insurance company?
no, it would be writing a check.
Okay, so you would be providing the funding to do that? Okay, and that would have to come out of the profits of the sale of the unit?
Correct.
Okay. The last question I have is regarding that 2/3 traffic being local. How do you know? What is the methodology that you're using? Do you photograph license plates and then get permission from the DMV to look out where these people live? I mean, how do you know that it's local? Is it wishful thinking?
No, I think it goes beyond wishful thinking, and I think the next community meeting will dig into a lot more about traffic. Unfortunately, I don't think there's enough time to go over how the details of it, but you know, my traffic engineer could stand up here for probably 5 hours and put you to sleep on all the details of it, but I'm sure we'll be able to answer that.
Like
Right
that?
there in the white shirt.
All right. All right, thank you.
So we will look into that also. And on the answer about planning for future roads, we have requested that he look to go out all the way to 2030 for our plan for traffic. To look what traffic's going to look like in the year 2030. And that's what we designed our plan around.
Thank you.
Okay, so we only have the room reserved till 8:30 technically, but we've got permission to go to 9. That means we have to be making our way out of here by 9. There's school staff that needs to go home to their families as well. We got 2 speakers over here, we got 1 gentleman over here.
5 seconds and I don't need a mic.
All right, we're gonna go for it, and then we're gonna have these 2, then we're gonna end the meeting for tonight, and remember, we have 2 more. Go ahead, sir.
The engineers they use, the engineering system they use, figure out the road traffic, it's called the SWAG system. SWAG stands for Scientific Wild Ass Guess.
I've got a couple of comments and then I've just got one question. You did your homework as a developer. It's a good sell. You got your package together. One of my comments is, as a developer, I think it's important to, and as an individual, I look at track records of people. I don't know you, you don't know us. So it would be nice, I think, and this goes to both developers, I think the next meeting, we would like to see some kind of a track record, what you've done in the past, to back up what you're proposing to us. And to tie into the track record, I just have one question for you, and this would perhaps maybe lend some credibility to them and give us some insight. There was a couple of girls up here who was talking about the environment, sandhill cranes, and gopher turtles. And you had mentioned that you were going to be acquiring the necessary permits for specifically gopher tortoises. Can either one of you as developers tell us if you possess the bury kill permits that were issued to developers for the gopher tortoises?
No, we do not have any permits for buried kill permits, no.
Okay.
It's pure
So on the
relocation.
record,
We will not
entities own those permits.
We will not be doing what that's called as an incidental take permit. We will not be doing an incidental take. We will be doing a relocation.
Okay, thank you very much.
This last question, thank you.
Sorry, this is about traffic again. I'm a native of Winter Park. My childhood home was, the backyard of it was taken due to widening of Osceola Avenue that connects Aloma to Fairbanks. And you said you weren't going to do anything with the Montessori school. My house is behind that Montessori school. So you want to tell me how you're going to get around the Montessori school?
I can't tell you 100% today. I just can't. And like I said, this is one possible solution. The issue is that there are portions of Lake Picket Road that are failing condition. There are also, the whole entire Lake Picket Road is on the Orange County's long-range plan for 4-laning. And there is not sufficient right-of-way currently on Lake Picket Road at all for that. And so there are going to be some areas that eventually in the future will be impacted. What we told our consultants and our team is we need to find a route that impacts the minimal amount of people to not go forward with the plan that the county has for the long-range plan.
I have beautiful woods behind my house that have beautiful owls and beautiful birds. And being Floridian, it's making me sad, really sad. It's going away. I'm moving to the beach.
All right, I appreciate everybody's coming out tonight, and hope you guys have a safe drive home. Thank you.